First contact and call to arms. The rhythmic hum of Earth's Sentinel deep space array was broken by an urgent alert that echoed through the monitoring station. Dr. Maya Chen nearly dropped her coffee as she stared at the screen, where an anomalous signal pattern pulsed with unmistakable artificial precision. "This can't be right," she whispered, fingers flying across the interface. The signal wasn't human in origin. Its complex mathematical patterns followed no known Earth protocol. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, Maya was looking at humanity's first confirmed alien transmission. Within hours, the remote Antarctic facility transformed into the epicenter of Earth's greatest discovery. Military personnel and civilian experts crowded around displays as the finest minds on the planet worked to decode the message. It took 3 days before they cracked the underlying mathematical cipher. When they finally translated the message, it wasn't the peaceful greeting everyone had hoped for. "Attention species of Sol 3. This is an emergency transmission from the Galactic Coalition. We require immediate military assistance against the Nexus swarm. Our defense systems are failing. You are our last hope." Coordinates and jump protocols attached. The United Space Command headquarters in Geneva buzzed with frantic activity as Admiral David Harrison addressed the hastily assembled Security Council. The message included detailed star charts and technical specifications for what appears to be faster-than-light travel, he explained, projecting the alien schematics onto the main display. "They've been watching us, studying our capabilities. They know exactly who they're asking for help. And why would advanced aliens need our help?" General Santos asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. "Earth's military hasn't even expanded beyond Mars. We've barely mastered our own solar system." Admiral Harrison's expression darkened. "That's the most interesting part. According to their message, we possess unique qualities." "They called us Deathworlders," interjected Dr. Chen. "Their message contains biological and atmospheric data comparing Earth to coalition worlds. Our gravity is 1.4 times stronger than their heaviest planet. Our atmospheric oxygen content is considered toxic by their standards. Even our bacteria would be lethal to most of their species." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans weren't just another intelligent species. They were evolutionary champions from one of the harshest worlds in known space. "They want us because we're tough," Harrison concluded. "Because we evolved on a death trap that would kill most sentient species in minutes." Captain Elena Reyes stood motionless on the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, Earth's most advanced warship. At 35, she was the youngest captain in the United Space Command, with a reputation for unconventional tactics that bordered on recklessness. The Prometheus gleamed in the orbital shipyard, its massive frame dwarfing the maintenance vessels swarming around it. Captain, her XO, Commander Jackson, appeared at her side. "The alien envoy has arrived at USC headquarters. They're broadcasting the meeting to all command staff." Reyes nodded and followed him to the bridge, where her crew had gathered around the main view screen. The alien that appeared on screen sent a collective gasp through the room. The Coalition ambassador resembled a cross between an octopus and a deer, a slender, elegant creature with 4 graceful limbs and 2 additional appendages that moved like tentacles. Its skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to correspond with its speech. "We thank Earth's leaders for receiving our plea." The alien spoke through a translation device. "I am Ambassador Thalos of the Coalition. We have observed your species for over a century, tracking your remarkable development. Why have you waited until now to contact us?" asked the USC Secretary General. "The Coalition operates on non-interference principles with developing worlds," Thalos replied. "However, the Nexus swarm has broken through our defensive perimeter. They are not a species but a collective, a hive mind that assimilates biological and technological distinctiveness. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat." "And what exactly do you expect from us?" Harrison asked. "Your vessels are primitive by our standards, but your people, The alien's appendages rippled. You evolved on a high-gravity, radiation-bathed world with extreme temperature variations and atmospheric composition lethal to most sentient life. Your bodies can endure forces that would crush coalition species. Your immune systems fight off pathogens that would decimate our populations. You heal from injuries that would be fatal to us. Thalos paused, its skin flickering with blue-green patterns. In short, Admiral, you are natural warriors from a death world. The swarm adapts quickly, but it has never encountered anything like humans. On the Prometheus, Rice felt her crew's attention shift to her. They were watching for her reaction, seeking confidence in the face of the impossible. She kept her expression neutral, but her mind was racing through tactical scenarios. What makes you think we'd risk our people for your war? The Secretary General asked on screen. Because the swarm is coming for you next, Thalos replied simply. Their expansion is methodical and relentless. If the coalition falls, Earth will face them alone in less than 20 of your years. The debate raged for days. Military strategists argued it was better to fight the swarm on distant battlefields than wait for them to reach Earth. Scientists salivated over the technological exchange the coalition offered. Politicians worried about sending Earth forces to die in an alien conflict with no guarantee of victory. Captain Rice received her orders 5 days after the ambassador's arrival. The Prometheus would lead Earth's 7th Fleet, 12 warships and their support vessels, through a temporary wormhole established by coalition technology. It would be humanity's first venture beyond their solar system and their first interstellar war. The coalition had provided technical specifications for weapon modifications that would make human armaments more effective against swarm defenses. Engineering teams worked around the clock, adapting railguns and missiles to target the specific vulnerabilities of swarm biotechnology. Rice supervised the final preparations from the Prometheus's command center, reviewing tactical simulations based on coalition intelligence. The swarm operated with a distributed intelligence, not individual minds but specialized units sharing a collective consciousness. They adapted quickly to new threats, learning and evolving new defenses with each engagement. They're biological and technological parasites, Commander Jackson observed, studying the data. They don't just kill, they absorb and repurpose, which means traditional victory conditions don't apply, Rice replied. This isn't about territory or resources. It's about survival. 2 weeks after the initial contact, Earth's fleet assembled in high orbit. The modifications were complete, the crews trained as much as possible on alien combat scenarios. Ambassador Thalos provided a final briefing to the fleet commanders. The coalition homeworld is under siege, the alien explained, projecting a holographic star map. Our remaining fleets are scattered, trying to protect evacuation efforts from our outer colonies. The swarm has adapted to our weapons and tactics. But you are an unknown quantity. You still haven't explained why you believe we can succeed where your more advanced civilization is failing, Rice said. Thalos's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. Because you think differently, Captain. Coalition strategic doctrine has developed over thousands of years of peace, with occasional border conflicts. You humans evolved as tribal hunters on a predator-filled world. Your entire history is written in conflict and adaptation. The alien gestured at the hologram, where a pulsing red mass was slowly engulfing blue points of light. The swarm's strength is adaptation, but it adapts to patterns it recognizes. Human warfare, your unpredictability, your willingness to take risks, your capacity to endure conditions that would kill coalition species, these are outside its experience. Reyes considered this. You're not just asking for our technology or our ships. You're asking for our savagery. We are asking, Thalos said quietly, for humanity's unique perspective on survival at any cost. The deployment day arrived with little fanfare. Earth had kept the alien contact classified, releasing only vague statements about deep space exercises. The 7th Fleet moved into position near Jupiter's orbit, where coalition engineers had established the temporary wormhole apparatus. On the Prometheus's bridge, Captain Rice took her command chair as status reports flowed in from the other ships. "All vessels report ready, Captain," Commander Jackson announced. "Coalition wormhole apparatus is online and stable," added Lieutenant Commander Patel from the science station. "Transit window opens in 3 minutes." Rice opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Rice. In moments, we will become the first humans to leave our solar system. We go to fight in a war that isn't ours, against an enemy we've never seen, for aliens we just met." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "But make no mistake, this is humanity's fight. Today we prove what it means to come from Earth. Today we show the galaxy what Deathworlders are capable of." She closed the channel and nodded to the navigation officer. "Take us in." The massive wormhole bloomed before them, a swirling vortex of energy that bent the fabric of space-time. One by one, Earth's warships accelerated into the anomaly, vanishing in flashes of light as they were hurled across the galaxy. The Prometheus, flagship of humanity's first interstellar expedition, entered last. As the wormhole enveloped them, Captain Rice gripped her armrests, her expression resolute. They were bringing Earth's deadliest weapons to the swarm's doorstep, not just railguns and missiles, but the indomitable human spirit forged on a world that had tried to kill them every step of their evolution. The Deathworlders were coming. Humanity fights back. Transit through the wormhole felt like being stretched in 1,000 directions at once. Many crew members collapsed at their stations, overwhelmed by sensations the human brain wasn't evolved to process. But Captain Alina Reyes remained conscious through sheer force of will, her knuckles white on the armrests of her command chair. When reality reasserted itself, the view screen showed a scene out of nightmare. The Coalition homeworld hung in space before them, a beautiful azure sphere marred by burning continents and orbital debris. Massive swarm vessels, resembling organic hives crossed with mechanical fortresses, surrounded the planet. Smaller craft swarmed between them like angry insects. "Status report," Rice demanded, fighting through the disorientation. "All ships accounted for," Commander Jackson responded, his voice strained. "Coalition defense fleet is down to 17 vessels. They've formed a blockade around the southern hemisphere." Lieutenant Santos at Tactical suddenly shouted, "Captain, swarm vessels altering course. They've detected us." 3 enormous swarm dreadnoughts broke away from the siege and accelerated toward Earth's fleet, accompanied by clouds of smaller attack craft. Their biomechanical hulls pulsed with sickly green light, appendages extending like reaching tendrils. "They're not hailing us," Communications Officer Chen reported. "No attempts at communication." Rice nodded grimly. "They're not here to talk." Battle stations. Deploy in Thunderhead formation. Weapons free. The 7th Fleet spread into the practiced configuration, a 3-dimensional sphere that presented no weak points and allowed all ships to bring their weapons to bear. It was a defensive posture developed for Earth's asteroid security operations, never tested in actual combat. The first volley from the swarm ships came without warning, beams of corrosive energy that could dissolve hull plating on contact. The UES Intrepid took a direct hit, its shields flaring brilliant blue before failing completely. "Evasive maneuvers," Rice ordered. "Return fire, full spread. Target their weapons arrays." Earth's ships responded with synchronized barrages of modified railguns and nuclear-tipped missiles. The projectiles traveled at significant fractions of light speed, arriving almost instantly at their targets. The first salvo caught the swarm unprepared. Their defenses had evolved to counter coalition energy weapons, not physical projectiles accelerated to relativistic velocities. The lead dreadnought shuddered as railgun slugs punched through its hull, followed by nuclear detonations that tore open entire sections. But to the horror of the human observers, the damage began repairing itself almost immediately, biomechanical tissue growing to seal the breaches. "They're adapting," warned Science Officer Petal, "reshaping their outer hulls to deflect projectiles." Rice watched the tactical display, her mind racing. The swarm vessels were already altering their approach vectors, changing formation to minimize exposure to Earth's weapons. Within minutes, they would develop countermeasures that would render conventional attacks useless. She needed something the swarm couldn't predict. Something uniquely human. "All ships, this is Captain Reyes," she broadcast to the fleet. "Implement chaotic response protocol." The Earth vessels suddenly broke formation, each ship executing seemingly random maneuvers. To an outside observer, or a hive mind expecting logical patterns, it appeared as though the human fleet had lost all coordination. Ships accelerated in contradictory directions, weapons fired at apparently arbitrary targets, and communication chatter flooded all frequencies with meaningless noise. But there was method in the madness. Chaotic response was a tactical doctrine developed during Earth's resource wars, a deliberate embracing of apparent disorder to overwhelm enemy prediction algorithms. Each ship captain knew exactly what they were doing, following complex but individually assigned patterns that, together, created a battlefield chaos theory that no single intelligence could track. The swarm ships faltered, their coordinated movements becoming hesitant as they struggled to predict where the human vessels would be. For a hive mind that operated on pattern recognition, the deliberate human chaos was computational poison. "They're confused," Jackson observed with grim satisfaction. "Their targeting efficiency has dropped by 60%. Reyes nodded. "Now for Phase 2. Prepare boarding teams." While the swarm focused on the erratic movements of Earth's larger vessels, the Prometheus launched 8 stealth shuttles toward the damaged dreadnought. Each carried a squad of Earth's special orbital forces, soldiers trained in zero-gravity combat and ship infiltration. Major Sarah Connor led the primary insertion team, guiding her shuttle through debris fields toward a gaping hole in the dreadnought's hull. The team's objective was simple but crucial: plant a quantum destabilizer at the ship's core and escape before detonation. "Remember your training," Connor told her squad over the comm. "Coalition intelligence says swarm ground units are strong but slow. Use your mobility. Use your environment. And remember, you're Deathworlders. Your bodies can handle stresses theirs can't." The shuttle slipped into the breach, landing in what appeared to be a cavernous holding bay. The interior of the swarm vessel defied human architectural logic. Organic curves blended with mechanical components, pulsing conduits carried unknown fluids, and every surface seemed alive and responsive to their presence. As the SOF team deployed, sensors detected movement. Swarm combat units converged on their position, hulking biomechanical monstrosities that combined the worst aspects of insects and machines. They moved with eerie coordination, clearly controlled by a unified intelligence. The human soldiers didn't hesitate. They scattered in practiced formation, using their grappling systems to launch themselves to different elevations in the vast chamber. In Earth's gravity, their powered exoskeletons added strength. In the dreadnought's lower gravity, they gave the soldiers superhuman capabilities. The first swarm unit fired a corrosive spray that dissolved part of a bulkhead. Major Connor avoided it with a lateral thrust from her suit's maneuvering jets, simultaneously firing her modified assault rifle. The specialized ammunition, designed based on coalition data, disrupted the biological components of the swarm unit, causing it to spasm uncontrollably. Throughout the chamber, similar scenes played out as humans demonstrated combat techniques evolved on a high-gravity Deathworld. They bounced from walls, used momentum in ways the swarm couldn't predict, and employed weapons specifically calibrated to exploit swarm vulnerabilities. "They're adapting," warned Corporal Rodriguez as a swarm unit developed armor plating that deflected their ammunition, already changing their biology. "Then we change too," Connor replied calmly. "Switch to thermobaric charges." The team deployed a new weapon, compact explosives that created devastating pressure waves. In the confined space of the swarm vessel, the effect was catastrophic for organisms that had never evolved to withstand concussive force. On the Prometheus, Captain Reyes monitored the boarding operation while continuing to direct the fleet battle. The chaotic response protocol was still working, but its effectiveness was diminishing as the swarm analyzed and adapted. Second wave of swarm vessels approaching from the planet, reported Lieutenant Santos. 5 minutes until intercept. Ray studied the tactical display. Where are we with the boarding teams? Major Connor reports they've reached the central processing node. Jackson replied. Setting charges now. The feed from Connor's helmet camera showed a massive chamber where organic and mechanical components merged into a pulsating brain-like structure. Her team worked quickly, placing quantum destabilizers at key junctions while fighting off increasingly desperate swarm defenders. Charges set, Connor reported, her voice tense with exertion. Beginning withdrawal. All ships, Rise broadcast. Prepare for sunburst maneuver on my mark. Boarding teams, you have 3 minutes. The SOF teams fought their way back through the dreadnought's shifting corridors as the vessel seemed to realize the existential threat. Walls closed, passages rerouted, and swarm defenders swarmed from every direction. 2 soldiers fell, overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Another was trapped when a passage sealed unexpectedly. Connor led the survivors back to their shuttle, providing covering fire as they boarded. Prometheus, this is Connor. We're clear but losing ground fast. Request immediate extraction. Negative. Major, came the response. Swarm defenses have adapted to our shuttle profiles. You need to reach minimum safe distance before we can extract. Connor made a split-second decision. Launch anyway. We'll create our own exit. She directed her remaining team to place breaching charges on the exterior hull near their position, while she held off advancing swarm units. When the charges detonated, the explosive decompression gave them the opportunity they needed. Using their suit thrusters, the SOF team launched themselves into space just as the shuttle approached. Now, Captain, Connor shouted as her team cleared the dreadnought. Reyes didn't hesitate. Execute Sunburst. All Earth vessels simultaneously launched specially modified nuclear missiles directly at the damaged dreadnought, concentrating their fire on the weakened sections. As the missiles impacted, the quantum destabilizers deep within the ship activated, creating a cascading failure that tore the massive vessel apart from the inside. The explosion rippled through space, destroying nearby swarm craft and temporarily disrupting the hive mind's coordination. In that moment of confusion, the Prometheus executed a daring maneuver, sweeping close to recover the SOF team floating in space. Major Connor is aboard, Jackson reported. 5 survivors from her team. Reyes allowed herself a moment of grief for the lost soldiers before refocusing on the battle. Status of swarm forces. They're in disarray, Santos reported with amazement. The destruction of the dreadnought has caused some kind of systemic disruption. Coalition forces are pressing the advantage. A transmission cut through the chaos. Ambassador Thelis, broadcasting from the Coalition command ship. Captain Reyes, the alien's voice conveyed unmistakable awe, even through the translator. Your attack has severed a primary node of the swarm's collective consciousness. We never considered a direct assault on their command structure. Our species lacks the physical capabilities to execute such a mission. We're not done yet, Reyes replied. The swarm is regrouping. We need to press our advantage before they adapt. Agreed. Coalition forces will follow your lead. For the next 6 hours, Earth's fleet coordinated with coalition ships in a running battle that pushed the disorganized swarm away from the homeworld. Human tactical doctrines, unpredictable, aggressive, and often seemingly irrational, continued to confound the hive mind's ability to develop effective countermeasures. When the last swarm vessel retreated from the system, the coalition homeworld was secure. But the victory had come at a cost. 3 Earth ships destroyed, hundreds of crew lost, and thousands wounded. In the aftermath, Captain Reyes stood in the Prometheus's medical bay, visiting the survivors of Major Connor's team. The SOF soldiers bore terrible injuries that would have killed most coalition species, but human resilience, their evolved ability to survive trauma, was proving itself once again. They're calling you the swarm killer, Connor told her from her recovery bed. face half covered in regenerative bandages. Rais shook her head. No, that title belongs to you and your team. A delegation of coalition officials requested permission to board the Prometheus, led by Ambassador Thelus. In the ship's conference room, the alien representatives studied the humans with new understanding. For generations, we classified Earth as a forbidden world. Thalus explained. Your gravity, atmosphere, temperatures, and wildlife are lethal by our standards. We never imagined Deathworld evolution could produce such effectiveness. You mean violence, Rais said directly. I mean adaptability, Thelus corrected. Yes, your species has a capacity for violence that unsettles us. But today we witnessed how that capacity, when directed with discipline and purpose, becomes something else entirely. The Coalition's Supreme Council had authorized an unprecedented offer, a permanent alliance with Earth, including technology exchanges that would advance human development by centuries. Interstellar travel, medical breakthroughs, energy generation, all would be shared freely. And in return, Admiral Harrison asked, having arrived through the stabilized wormhole with reinforcements. In return, Thalus said simply, we ask that humanity stands with us. The swarm has retreated, but it will return. And there are other threats in our galaxy it may require Deathworld perspectives. Harrison looked to Reyes, whose tactical innovations had proven decisive. Captain, your assessment. Reyes considered the question carefully. Earth had entered the galactic stage in the most dramatic fashion possible, as warriors from a harsh world, capable of feats that amaze more advanced civilizations. It was not the first contact humanity had dreamed of, but perhaps it was the one they had been evolving toward all along. The swarm won't be the last threat we face, she said finally. And next time, they'll be ready for us. We need to be ready too. She turned to the alien ambassador. Earth accepts your offer, Ambassador. Not just as warriors, but as partners. We have much to learn from each other. Thalus's skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold, emotions that human eyes couldn't yet interpret. Indeed, Captain Reyes. The Coalition has existed for 10,000 years, but I believe the arrival of humanity marks the beginning of a new era. As the diplomatic details were arranged, Reyes returned to the Prometheus's observation deck. From here, she could see both the scared Coalition homeworld and the distant star that was Earth's sun, invisible to the naked eye, but precisely marked on their navigational charts. Commander Jackson joined her silently, offering a data pad with casualty reports and damage assessments. Was it worth it? He asked quietly after she had reviewed the numbers. Reyes looked out at the stars. No longer distant and unreachable, but now part of humanity's expanded frontier. They called us to war because we're Deathworlders, she said. But that's not all we are. We're explorers, builders, dreamers. We survived a harsh world not just through violence, but through cooperation, innovation, and sheer stubborn refusal to accept limitations. She handed back the data pad. Send word to Earth. Tell them the Deathworlders did what Deathworlders do best. We survived. And then we thrived. In the silent vastness of space, Earth's fleet began repairs alongside their new Coalition allies. The galaxy had awakened to the potential of the strange, resilient species from the forbidden world, creatures who had evolved in hell and emerged stronger for it. The Deathworlders had arrived, and the universe would never be the same.